Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Conversations. I'm your host Ryan,
Jesse.
and we are here with Yin Yang, and he's gonna actually tell us his story about the tragic loss of his brother, and the situation with mental health and how the police handled it. So, thank you for being on the pod.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I know this is really tough, so thank you for sharing the story with us. Because I mean, we know about it through the news and stuff, but to hear it like firsthand reports and actually stuff that happened in the background, like,
Thank you.
Yeah.
My brother had some mental health issues throughout his life, starting from his early 20s, and we, as a family, we've been trying to help him have a normal life, and he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and he was also diagnosed with acute anxiety disorder. These are characterized by him having episodes where he's hallucinating and hearing mainly persecutory delusions, which is you're hallucinating that somebody's coming after you. That was what he was plagued with for many years. The very first time I saw that happen, his girlfriend at the time called me. She told me that he was acting strange and then I should come over there right away. When I went over, what I saw was he was absolutely terrified. I'd never seen anything like that. Since then, I've seen him get like that maybe a dozen times. Because he was diagnosed, we were able to always get him help without anything bad happening like this time. Because we were able to call the Department of Mental Health, and then he wouldn't get like arrested or anything like that. He would just go to the hospital, and normally he would just spend like a day or two there, and then once he was feeling better, he would come out. Everything would be back to normal. And then he wasn't like suffering from these delusions all the time. Mm-hmm. It was just whenever he was having an episode. So there was just.
And how long ago was that when that happened?
This is when we were in our early 20s.
Okay.
Early 20s. So.
And he would have this often, or was it getting better, or?
In the past 5 years or so, he hadn't had any episodes. He really turned his life around, and he was being healthy mentally and physically. He was doing yoga, and like he had found God. It helped him a lot. So yeah. He was, for the most part, completely better. Suddenly he just had an episode again.
Was this episode this one, or was it one before?
So this, I'm talking about the last one.
Got it.
The last episode, it was out of character because for many years he had been better. So,
and just to be for reference, this happened in.
So it was May 2nd is when it happened. But
so it was recently.
For a few days before that, he was feeling these symptoms, and then I paid him a visit one time. I went over to his house and I spent the night, and he seemed pretty okay to me. So I felt like it was okay. I went back home, and then I got a call from his girlfriend, and she told me that he was, that the Department of Mental Health had been called by his manager, and that he was like yelling and hearing voices again. So I got worried, and then I went over to his house to look for him, and he wasn't home. So I stayed there, waited for him that night for like few hours, and then it was like 4 a.m. when I just decided to go home. He didn't show up. I didn't know, but he had actually gone to my parents' house because he was feeling these symptoms and he felt safer over there. Yeah, the next morning, I got another call from his girlfriend again, and she told me that he was at my parents' house. So I kind of relaxed. I thought, he's fine. He's safe.
Naturally.
Yeah, safe. I mean, and then I was tired, so I just stayed home, and then about like an hour later, he was gone. He had died, and then I got another call from his girlfriend. She told me he'd been shot, and then I hurried down there to my parents' house to see what had happened.
And this happened at your parents' house?
It was in my parents' house, yeah.
Oh man. So like, okay, like I know it's hard, but if you want to take us to that moment of when you went, there was some stuff that went on, right? Like it was stuff
Yeah.
that just, I guess, information or something.
Mishandled.
Yeah.
Mishandling, yeah.
A lot of things. When I got there, so my parents live on between the fourth and Fifth Street. When I got there, I tried to walk in through the Fifth Street side because they had blocked off Fourth and Fifth with police tape. And when I tried to go in, they knew who I was. They were letting other people in, as long as you could prove that you lived there. It was okay. They'll let you go in. So I saw other people being allowed to go in, and on my ID, it actually has the address for my parents' house.
Oh, okay.
So I told them, I live here. Can I go in? They wouldn't let me in. They said I had to go in through the other side on 4th Street. So I had to walk all the way down to Wilton and then walk all the way to. When I got to 4th Street, they let me under the police line, the tape. I went in, and obviously there was the obligatory scene I caused. When I got there,
Yeah.
I tried to get into the house, and they all held me back. The police wouldn't let me in. My dad was there, and he stopped me, and then we're crying and all these things. Like, why wouldn't they let a family member
Yeah,
go in and
of course.
check on what happened, and see from the get-go. I feel like it was just they just made sure that we couldn't see anything what they did to him.
Just so much limited access to
Yeah.
everything.
What was the story that they were telling you?
So they didn't tell us anything. All the questions I had were met with the same exact answer. It was I don't know, which is obviously a lie because I knew that every police officer there knows exactly what happened. And there was a police liaison. There was a family liaison. That's what his position was, and his job, according to him, he was there to help us, and basically
He's a buffer between
answer all of our questions and this and that. But really, he was just doing damage control.
Yeah.
And making sure we don't cause a problem.
Yeah.
And my parents, they didn't really see that, but I saw right through him, and I was just cussing at him. I was angry. I just told him, you're just covering things up.
Naturally, of course.
Yeah. And then I was asking questions like, why did he have to get shot? How many times did he get shot? Things like that. Like who shot him? Who's the guy that shot him? I want to talk to him. I want to find out. Basically all the things that you would normally want to find out. Like, how long did it take? How long did it take for him to die? He's like, why didn't you guys get him to the hospital? All these things. And then it was just he just said, I don't know anything. I just got here. The police that were involved, they're all gone. So, and then I'm sorry for your loss. That's basically all they would say. And then we got the same answer for a while. And then the same guy, the police liaison guy, the family liaison guy, he said that he wanted us to go to the station with him. But I noticed that the reporters were all there. I saw a crowd gathering of reporters, and then I went over there and I said, "Somebody help us! These cops shot my brother. I don't know if he's even alive up there. He might be alive." I was hoping. I was kind of in denial, I guess.
Of course.
And of course, I don't trust them because they're not telling us anything. Yeah. And then I was asking these reporters, like, why these cops are not telling us anything? They shot him. They're just saying that he's dead, and they won't tell us anything. They won't let us see his body. Like, somebody help me, They didn't respond. They had the mics and all that. I don't think they were even on. There was nobody recording me, I don't think. And they just gave me a blank stare, and then I was asking, please help me, and nobody even said anything to me. And then I remember the police, the family liaison, who was a cop, he's wearing a suit, and then he looks different from all the other cops, but I could tell he's not a detective. He's just there, and he's the only one that will say anything. And he told us that he wants us to go with him to the station or meet him at the station, and he'll answer all of our questions and stuff. So I took my parents over there. I dropped them off, and I just rushed back to the scene because I was worried. There's something was fishy, you know.
Yeah,
and I saw the medical examiner there. I didn't want them to just take his body and miss. You know, I had to see what happened, you know. And when I got back, the reporters were all packing up and they were leaving. And then I found out shortly after that there had been a press conference right during the time that I had gone to drop them off and come back. It took maybe like 30 minutes. They had a press conference during that time, and in the press conference, the police officer that was talking told everyone that Yong had, he was violent, and he had lunged at the police with a knife, and then they were forced to shoot him. I was like thinking, there's no way, right? And they said that bullets had struck him, like as if it was an accident or something. Yeah. And then they were saying that he was taken into custody after that. Yeah, after they shot him, they took him into custody.
Which is weird.
Yeah, and then as if like he's a criminal or something.
They should give him medical attention.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what was weird about it. And that was just confusing to me. You know, I was thinking, why would he be taken into custody? And then they said that he died on the scene. The narrative was just kind of weird. You know, it
didn't make sense.
Yeah,
it didn't all match up.
The map didn't,
and you knew. And that's what made you come back. So
yeah, so I went there, and because I kind of had a feeling like there's something going on. They're trying to hide something. After I got there, we waited for like 3 more hours. So, so he got shot before noon. It was by the time they told us that the coroner had come to pick up the body. It was already like almost 7 o'clock, I believe.
Oh my gosh!
So he was in there for like 8 hours almost.
Yeah.
Apparently they were waiting there that long because they were waiting for a coroner to arrive. And
so what's the difference between a coroner and like a medical examiner?
So I was confused about that.
Yeah.
So I looked it up. The difference is a coroner is an elected official.
Wow.
And he doesn't have to have a medical degree or anything. So a medical examiner is a doctor. And he can do like a clinical autopsy.
Yeah.
You can do forensic, investigation of the body. A coroner is elected almost always a cop, so it's almost always a sheriff deputy.
I never knew that.
Yeah, so there's definite conflict of interest there. So there's it shouldn't be a cop.
It should be a third party.
Yeah, it should be someone else. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And then these guys are actually in charge of these medical examiners, so they can decide whether or not there needs to be an autopsy, and they're supervising the autopsy. If you guys want to learn more about that, there's actually a really interesting monologue by John Oliver. You guys know John Oliver, right?
Yeah, of course.
He does. If you look it up on YouTube,
About this situation. Oh, okay.
About
I watch him,
about investigations of about the whole coroner and medical examiner thing.
Because a lot of these situations, you're always hearing the coroner. You're not actually, because I watch a lot of murder mystery type of things, and it's usually coroner. So you kind of blew my mind knowing that it's kind of controlled in that situation. Yeah,
and the coroner doesn't have to have any medical. He might have never taken a science class in his life.
Yeah.
It can be. The only requirements are they're 18 and they have a high school diploma.
Yeah.
Whereas the medical examiner has to have a
degree.
medical degree, so he has to have a lot of training and stuff.
So after they told you that press conference and they were saying what they said, go through any discover. Are you fighting it right now? What's
when I got back there? The family liaison guy. He was telling us that the body he's still in there.
Okay.
When I got back, my parents were still at the police station being questioned actually because they were saying that they were going to answer questions, but instead they were asking them questions, and they didn't answer a single question actually, from what I learned. I waited there outside, just watching like hawk, like seeing if there's a body coming out of the building, and nothing happened for hours. And then he told us once my parents were back there, he said that the body was coming out now, so we can go and see him. We lined up to go in, and he was leading us in, and then suddenly he like gets like some news, and he tells us, he literally said this. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry. There's been a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm a piece of shit. The body's already been taken by the coroner."
Wow. And then what time is this at?
And this was like at 7 p.m. I hadn't seen a coroner's van arrive. Nothing. And I was watching the whole time. You know?
So technically, when you were asked to go to the police station to be questioned, was the time that they did the questioning, or they did the press conference. So most likely it was during that time that you went there.
Actually, from what so I've reviewed the CCTV. We have a CCTV camera outside. So we reviewed that, and he had been taken, but it was right before they told us that he was ready to be, he was coming out. So before they told us he was coming out, they had already taken him, and they took him on the other side. So it was 4th Street is where they told us that they're gonna come and get him. They had taken him on 5th Street, so it was on a block away, and we were not on the other side, on that side. They told us to be on the 4th Street side, and
So
they had taken us on the opposite. Yeah, basically they told us one thing, and then they just had him leave on the other side. And then I just remember being so mad. I was like, "You lied to us. You told us that we're gonna see him. You said he gave me his word. He said, I give you my word that you will see him before he's taken." And then I didn't see him for another whole month because
oh my gosh,
we had to do our own like private autopsy.
Yeah.
Because at this point we don't trust the coroner's autopsy or all that stuff is just,
you don't trust anybody.
Yeah, anything that
in
they
this
do.
situation, because I didn't know that. So like they do their natural autopsies, but you can request as a family to do your own after that as well.
Yes.
Okay,
And
so I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not like it's pretty normal at the same time, given the circumstances, but yeah, obviously it's not like what normally happens. If in this situation it was normal because things were so weird, and so we had conducted our own autopsy. We had to have him shipped all the way up to UC Davis to see.
Oh my gosh, that's so far.
Yeah, and then by the time that was all done, it was a month later. We had a funeral. I believe it was on the 30th of May. So it was almost a whole month before I saw him, and by then he didn't even look the same. It was just
I'm so sorry.
So,
Question though, like from their analyzation to your guys' analyzation, was there a lot of differences, or was it pretty on point in terms of what they shared with you guys?
Well, that I can't get into that.
Okay, understood.
because it's still going on right now.
Our legal team doesn't want us talking about that too in depth, but let's just say that there's definitely
Discrepancies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the weird thing is what jumped out at me was it's in the police autopsy too, or coroner's autopsy, which is to me is the police autopsy.
Yeah.
They had shot him 3 times, and it was more or less all 3
Center
times
mass.
was like
straight in the chest.
in the middle of the chest.
That's the kill.
To the left.
Yeah.
3 times, like 1, 2, 3, and then one of them was like the defensive wound, and he was trying to block it, and then it went through his arm and it hit him. All 3 of them were in the left side of the chest, pretty much, and it just tore up all of his vital organs, lungs, and like heart was completely destroyed. And yeah, it just seems like he knew that he was his goal was to kill him. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you're going three shots to center mass, that's to kill. That's
Yeah.
So,
And it turns out, like, from looking at the police body cams after a couple of weeks,
yeah, that was
those were
hard to
all
watch.
lies.
Yeah.
He didn't lunge at them.
Nope.
He wasn't violent or doing anything like that. The police officer is the violent one. He went in there and shot somebody inside that was alone. And, they didn't need to go in there. It wasn't like my family had said, "Oh, we need him out of there." No, they wanted him to go to the hospital, and they wanted him to get help.
Yeah.
And he was in his house.
Yeah, he was in there by himself. He's not hurting anybody. If anything, we were worried about him, maybe possibly him getting hurt, because in the past, he's gotten hurt before.
Yeah.
During an episode, he's gotten cuts or from like jumping through glass or like jumping off a balcony and hurting himself. So we're worried about that kind of thing. We're not worried about. So nobody was threatened or
Like outside interference.
yeah, no, there was no danger. He's not causing any danger to anybody else.
So what's next? Like, you guys are in a lawsuit right now, or are you guys in an investigation? You guys are in investigation still, right?
Yeah,
like,
we're the whole thing is really on pause because the police investigation, they say they're investigating, but obviously they are not.
They're not gonna investigate their own. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they've already done that, and it's not like anybody was committing a crime. So. But they say that the investigation is going to take 240 days which is mind-boggling. But
is that like normal? Like
I believe it is when it's the police that have killed somebody. They all drag it out. In this situation, it's that's
like
what they'll do.
for them.
They'll do that, and it's basically to kind of just drag it out to the point where we just give up. They want us to get exhausted or like just get fed up and just give up on the whole thing or I don't know what, but we're not going to. But that's kind of their hope, I guess, is that this kind of gets forgotten or something,
brushed under the rug, or
right.
you guys will end up getting tired or give up.
You just drag it out until like.
I mean, because then eventually you're working against city money they have so much of it. At the end of the day, really, if they want to protect their own, and if you guys go through any kind of litigation or any kind of like legal battles, it's just they'll drag it out. Yeah, man, it sucks, but you're dealing with the biggest fucking gang in the world, so.
I'm just wondering too, the cop that actually had shot him, was there any kind of consequences or anything that had happened?
For him?
We do know that he was put on an administrative leave. That's what they call it. So basically, paid vacation, and then he's taken off the streets. But we don't know whether he's back on the patrol or whatever at this point. We do know that he has shot somebody before.
Okay, so there's actual evidence.
Another mentally ill person.
Really?
Yeah, right. And then at that time, that person didn't die, but he does have a history of shooting mentally ill people.
When he shot that person, where did he shoot him?
I'm not sure, but I know it was a shotgun, and he shot him. It
It
was right in front of the police department, on the Olympic division. It was a person that was mentally ill, and then that person had a BB gun, so that was his probably.
That's
cause,
what they can use against is that they thought he had a weapon.
He didn't get in any trouble. He had no consequences whatsoever, and so that's why I think that's one of the problems. There's no consequences, so he decided this time, hey, I can do it again, and I'll get away with it. And the body cam footage came out 3 weeks after the shooting, and as you guys have probably seen it, but when it came out, it had been edited heavily. They even said at the beginning that the footage had been edited,
which isn't normal.
Normally, it's not like that. So I've looked at other body cam footage from previous, police shootings. There's no editing. And
mental health shootings too, right? So
right. It's like usually just like a beginning to ending, just unedited, one straight shot, like one person's camera. But in this case, In this case, they switch cameras to someone that's not the shooter, someone's behind him while he's doing the shooting. They also like slow it down, make it look like he's kind of like coming at them. They're circling the knife, and I think it's because he's taking a very defensive stance. He's got his hand up and like this, and then he's got the knife back here, and they're circling the knife. You know?
Oh, so he had a knife in his hand.
He had the knife,
Okay.
but that's the other thing is this person not allowed to have a knife inside his own home.
Yeah.
I know your brother, and so I was waiting for the body cam footage, like, you know, and at the end of the day, when you see it and you see it's all edited, he comes in, or they come in and they break in. This is your parents' house.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything wrong to be treated the way he was treated.
Exactly.
When he came in, your brother's face immediately was God, like fear of God in his eyes.
Yeah.
And the way he responded was like, don't do it. That's all he looked like, was just don't do it. And as soon as you see it, it's like, you know, shot in the chest. And then immediately everything that we were fed from watching, because I've been following of all the police reports, everything that had happened consecutively, it's like your brother was the one initiating all of these things happen. He brought it on himself. But when you watch it, I was so dumbfounded that your brother, if he's going through a mental health, you know, meltdown in a way, he told them, don't come in, I don't know who you are. So he's allowed to have a knife to protect himself in his parents' house, in my perspective. Right. So the way he responded wasn't a lunge, it was more like a he's not sure once they broke in, and then it was like execution.
And I think what was happening was he was coming to close the door because the officer had stepped back out of the house.
Yeah.
And he was just walking up to close the door. He wasn't walking towards him. Yeah. He was kind of walking to the side, and then his goal was to close the door.
Yeah. Which it was an avoidance.
Which to him is being opened, you know, his Fourth Amendment rights being violated at that point, because they're coming into his home. Yes. And then he's not doing anything wrong. They're not allowed to come in without him inviting them. And he even says before, if you watch the body cams, the conversations that they're having, he's telling them, "I don't invite you." That's one of our like slogans for our rallies is, "You're not invited." You know, you can't. He even says that he knows that they're coming to kill him. You know, so he says, he's obviously hallucinating but he says, "I've been killed multiple times today, and you're not gonna kill me even one more time." And then the fact that they decided they have to barge in and then they're gonna actually kill him, is like, you just proved him right. That you guys were there to kill him. He knew that you're there to kill him, and then you killed him. How can that be the solution for that situation? It's ridiculous, mind-boggling, but that's really what happened.
Question: after like the body cam came out, you guys have footage of really what happened. You guys were told a certain thing, and then the situation was proven to be what it was. How did they mitigate that to be there for you guys, or like support, you know, what they had shared and how it didn't add up, all of these things? Like, how is that all handled?
As far as them handling anything with us, they to this day haven't answered a single question about why they decided to do what they did, why they decided to issue a search warrant of the house without telling anybody, and then searching the house while they were investigating. They haven't said anything, so they haven't supported us in any way, or consoled us, or apologized, or anything like that. So to us, we might as well be talking to a brick wall when we're talking to police. They haven't answered anything. Yeah.
No, just the accountability. It really sucks that they have no accountability. It's the reality of that, like most like black minorities deal with. Now it's happening to other minorities. Yeah. And I think we definitely need to get the word out, and that's why it's important for you to. I feel like you need to go on more podcasts, and hopefully this is the one that kind of opens the door to other podcasts for you, because, like, yeah, we definitely need to spread that word out, like, because I don't think it's a story that's shared. It's almost like it's forgotten because
it's getting swept under the rug. Yeah.
Because we're Asian, you know. I mean, like, honestly, as Asian Americans, the Asian community, like, we don't deal with this kind of situation. Like, I feel like they just started shooting other races recently, you know, the cops, and the Asians just, there was that Victoria Lee that got in New York recently, and then your brother, and it's like, I mean, we need to unify. We need to like protest or something, right? Like, do you guys have an organization that you're kind of working with right now, or like?
Well, we have support from a lot of different groups. We're backed by the Asian Mental Health Project. We have obviously we've been going to Black Lives Matter rallies and stuff. We formed our own coalition called the Justice for Yong People's Committee.
Yeah.
We're going to kind of transition into a nonprofit organization and try to get funding so that we can have like an alternative to police.
Yeah, fixing the policy, fixing the way that they handle situations. Police should never be the first responders when it comes to mental health calls, or kind of I feel like even domestic violence calls, like, I feel like there should be a mediator even if there's police there. So it's like I mean, we'll get the organizations, you know what I mean, we'll try to help you spread the word. So it's like, so like, what's the next step? Like, what's the next steps for?
Well, the next step is getting the word out to as many people as we can, and recognizing that the real problem are the, you know, laws that are out there, like qualified immunity. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's basically, it says that no government official, including police or judges or anybody that's working for the government, can be held accountable in a civil lawsuit for when something like this happens. So as long as they thought that they were
justified,
you know, within the confines of the law, they're totally cleared. So if the cop just says, I thought I was in danger, I thought I was doing what was right, that's all he needs to say, and it's totally in the clear. So our only option is really to sue the city. As far as like criminal charges, we can't really do anything about it. That's up to the DA to file criminal charges. So we're powerless really as people. When something like this happens, we have no power basically. We can't hope. We can just hope that the people will rise up and like maybe riot or something. And that was the only way that in George Floyd's case. Yeah. The only reason the police officer got locked up is because people started burning. People were starting burning buildings and, you know, rioting all across the country, and they decided, you know, it was better to just throw this guy under the bus. And short of that, we're not going to be seeing that police officer that killed my brother go to jail or have any repercussions whatsoever at all. He's probably going to be back on the force and probably kill again. Who knows?
And that's why what you're doing is so important, to let people know like what their families are internally going through, especially as Asian Americans. Like, there's a lot of mental health stuff that's happening, but we don't talk about it. And so you brought to life like how, you know, the law isn't in our favor. And so it's important for all of us to step up and do something about that, and like change legislation, change how it all is being handled, so that we're not put in these situations anymore.
Yeah, a lot of the problem is that there's, especially in the Asian community, there's this huge stigma for like mental health, and then people don't want to be seen as mentally ill, or it's like
but it's a generational thing. So that's why like what you're doing is important, is because we're the generation to break that stigma.
And if people want to join the movement, it's called,
our group is called the Justice for Yong People's Committee,
Justice for Young,
JYYPC. We are planning to transition into a nonprofit, but it's in the future. But if you wanted to follow on Instagram, it's Justice for Yong. If you can just at least follow the Instagram, and that way just have us in your feed, and we can keep everyone up to date on the future rallies. We talked to a councilman today for the district that my parents live in, and he said that he would love to have us there at any one of our one of their meetings, and we're going to, we're hoping that we'll have as many people as we can.
Please let us know too. Yeah, we'll blast it out, and we'll let everybody know about when it happens. So
so the more people, the better. And he said that he's a supporter, and we're happy to have him on our side now.
Sure.
So I'm glad that you have an ally. I think that's the most important. Really
glad. We're here with every step of the way. Yeah, you got Conversations on your side. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, and I mean, today was a little bit of a deep and heavy episode for us, but it is mental health is a big thing that we as Asian Americans sweep under the rug, and you bringing the light of this is like. It's important because just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it might not happen to someone else, and being able to know how to, I guess, approach situations versus, reacting, like without knowing and having like an understanding of where the person's coming from, then, things like this are going to continue to happen. So,
we're appreciative of you sharing this because this is definitely not easy because this is your twin brother. And
thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
And guys, thanks for stopping by. Remember, if you are feeling any kind of mental health challenges or any kind of situation where you go through it and you need someone to talk to, there are lines and organizations to help you out. So please don't feel shy or feel scared to reach out if you need it. Okay, so
it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah,
it's okay to not be
We're all going through it. Just find community and know that it's okay, and people are there to help you, find yourself to get back to feeling okay again.
Yeah. Well, shoot, man. Well, hopefully maybe we can have you back for another little bit more fun talk or an update, maybe. An update, an update on what's going on. So
Absolutely. This is police body cam footage side by side with the CCTV footage from outside the apartment, just to see what's going on out there. This is going to exclude the repeated display of the knife with the circle, and it'll show where there's any gaps in the body cam footage. There seems to be a 2-second delay between the two clocks, and that's because rather than match the timestamps, the moment the paramedics hear the gunshots is what was used to estimate the synchronization of the two videos. Pay attention to the paramedics right now. It's diabolical. Officer needs help. That's the call that they're putting out. Officer needs help. I agree, he does need help, but not that kind. There was a gap in the body cam footage there. As you can see, the EMT is still standing around, smiling and looking kind of demonic. It's kind of confusing, but it's just me. And now that they leave the scene, as police are going to be telling each other now that an ambulance is on the way. None of them actually have called an ambulance, but the one already on the scene seems to be doing the exact opposite of what you might expect. They have left now. Now they're roughly handcuffing him even though he's unresponsive, and clearly the least violent person in this room.
Okay, chest, stomach. Two chests, one stomach. See, there's an extra one in the back. Hey, Yong, can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me, bud? Hey. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You hear a chuckle from a female officer.
Hey, Emerson's coming.
Apparently she finds death comical. These are the people that are here to protect and serve us.
You good?
When I first watched this, I thought that they were putting on an act, pretending like he's alive, and pretending like they're giving him, life-saving measures, emergency CPR or what I don't know what they're actually thinking they're pretending they're doing. But now that I know some more information, I think they really just needed to hide the gunshot wounds from the camera, which is why they haven't turned like that and never actually show the bullet wounds. So I'll tell you guys, they were all within a few inches of each other, right on top of the heart.
Knife at scene and booked it as evidence.
That is a 5-inch knife,
also recovered narcotics
and
at
those
scene and
narcotics
booked it as evidence.
were not
Yong was a
on that
40-year-old
table.